Haere mai. Welcome to the Maxim Institute podcast. My name is Alapasita Pomelile. I am a researcher here at Maxim Institute, and this is our weekly short form podcast. These podcasts are released in tandem with our weekly column and are a chance for you to hear in depth from the column's author about some of the thinking that went into producing their final piece. Today, we talk to the wonderful Maxim Communications Manager Jason Heale about his recent column. All right, Jason, your recent column is on the hidden dangers of safety. You've got two words that are in there that don't often go together, danger and safety.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit clever.
Isn't safety a good thing?
It is. It is a good thing. Being safe is a good thing. I think the issue comes when we elevate safety above everything else, where safety becomes almost like a sacred value in many ways, that you can't endanger safety, and you kind of go from being safe to this term that was coined, safetyism, which is actually a definition in my column. A culture where people are unwilling to make trade-offs demanded by practical and moral concerns. So an example of that might be over the years we've kind of heard of the helicopter parent or the cotton wool.
It's lawnmower now.
Yeah. What's the lawnmower parent?
The lawnmower parents are like, they will just mow all the barriers.
Oh, there you go.
Because they were barriers that they had.
Oh, yeah. So something like that, where there's nothing in the way and nothing will obstruct, and there's no risk, and so you can
safe.
And that's kind of this idea of safetyism, as you just make sure that nothing is going to. And parenting is the place you do it because you love your kids and you want them to have a good life, and you want to maybe help them to avoid some of the suffering that you went through. So you do that, but it can elevate itself to a sacred value where safety above everything else.
Right, and not necessarily making way or leeway for the trade-offs of that.
Exactly, and I think part of it is, classic example, Road to Zero campaign, where we have this massive campaign to get the death toll, but not only the death toll, but our injury toll on our roads to zero in 1 year. Currently, I think it's around 296 deaths on our road, which is not a good stat for a 5 million person nation, and so, but to get that down to zero, there's a lot of trade-offs that you'd have to make in order to have no accidents.
Sure.
I think about the fact that, are you going to stop people driving when the driving conditions are dangerous? Are you going to bring the speed limit way down? How impractical are we going to make it? So there's a lot of trade-offs that you could make in the name of safety.
Right.
Like, here's this goal of zero deaths. What are we willing to do to get to that? And that's kind of this idea of safetyism at work. Yeah.
Gotcha. Obviously, safety and risk go hand in hand.
Yes.
In some ways, similarly to how our immune system needs germs to strengthen itself.
That's right.
I always sort of think of risk in that manner.
Yeah, because I think part of life and living and enjoying life, there has to be a little bit of risk there, right? I think about like the Sky Tower. People go up the Sky Tower and they stand on those glass floor where you can look down and you know that it's like
safe.
This, it's like, it's safe. There's all these safeguards around it to make sure that it is safe. But you stand there and you look down and you go, I'm going to fall, or, and the kids jump up and down on you, like, stop jumping on the thing because it might crack, even though it's been tested and it's safe. There's this bit of risk that gives a flavour to life. Or bungee jumping off the Harbour Bridge in Auckland, you jump off, even though there's safeguards and, you're not going to fall into the water. You still jump off, and there's this excitement, there's this kind of, thrill. It adds a spice, the thrill, to life,
So risk can be a good thing.
Yeah. I think risk provides us, it also propels, I think, creativity and things like that. When you see, something's a bit risky, what can I do to make it enjoyable, but not at the cost of actually the experience itself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that you end with talking about how inevitably that things are out of our control.
Yeah.
And that unexpected can happen and risk is real.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't distort us from who we are.
Yeah, I think part of that is the only thing that's inevitable about accidents is that they're going to happen.
Sure.
They're inevitable in that sense. Accidents will happen, and we don't know. And so if we spend all our time worrying about the future and worrying about what might happen and trying to mitigate risk, we forget to live our lives now.
In the present.
Yeah, and we forget that, like, if you look back at the newspaper headlines in the week leading up to September 11, for example, you know, that horrible, tragic event where thousands of people lost their lives, no one was thinking about it. There was no indication on any of the radar that things were heating up between terrorists in the United States, or the Taliban were doing anything out of the ordinary, or Al-Qaeda, or any of that. And it just happened. I think one of the headlines was about a guy who cheated on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because he was coughing or something like that, you know? Right. So if we spend too much time focusing on the risk, we forget to live in the moment.
Yeah, that's right. You too focus on the future, you miss the present.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jason, for a refreshing take on, or a reminder actually, of to be present, live wisely for today, but prepare for the future.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And now, let's hear from Jason as he reads his column.
How safe are we in Aotearoa, New Zealand? Pretty safe, you might answer. Maybe you're concerned about rising crime rates. Perhaps you're worried about the continued cost of living crisis. Increasing gang membership and activity, with an average of 3 gun crimes reported daily, isn't a good sign, nor is the coming COVID wave and what it might mean for your back pocket. Maybe a better question is, how safe should you feel? An interesting phenomenon was observed during the 2020 COVID lockdowns. It had been noted before, but was on full display then. A term coined in 2018 was used to describe it: safetyism. A culture where people are unwilling to make trade-offs demanded by practical and moral concerns. We have made safety our sacred value, the goal we pursue and desire above anything else. We might argue it was only COVID lockdowns, the protective measures and the vaccination program that indicated this, but there are other examples. The road to zero is one. Here is a campaign to reduce injuries and deaths on our country's roads to zero. That is, no serious injuries or death at all on our roads. A noble-sounding goal in a year with currently 296 road deaths. But this sort of plan has a cost. What are we prepared to pay for zero death or injury on our roads? And really, how achievable is it? Interestingly, it's a policy plank shared with New York City, which also claims their road toll of around 200 is unacceptable. Now, this is not to say that safety isn't important. For society to flourish, there needs to be a basic level of trust and safety. Take the spike in ram raids. We want to be kept safe from people who would harm us and take our stuff. Let's keep in mind the importance of civility in all this. Polls say we are more divided now than we've ever been, and some commentators have noted that the step from safetyism to vindictive protectionism, which is the punishment of those we see as obstructing our goal of safety. Of course, we cannot predict what might happen in the future. Look around the world. There's the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and how it might escalate. Economic and political turmoil in the UK, our 7th most significant trading partner. There's also the indication that China might invade Taiwan this year. In the days leading up to the terror attacks on September 11, 2001, the headlines of papers around the world showed no indication that anyone knew what was going to happen. They included reporting about England's soccer teams beating Germany 5-1, the winner of Big Brother, and the scandal of Charles Ingram cheating to win £1 million. In the end, it's inevitable that there are things out of our control. The unexpected can happen, and risk is real. Let's not allow that risk to distort who we are.
Thanks for listening to the Maxim Institute podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us and keep up with the rest of our research and analysis of politics and policy in New Zealand, you can sign up on the homepage of our website to get our monthly forum email and invitations to future Maxim Institute events. You can search and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. From the team here at Maxim Institute, mā te wā. Goodbye for now.